funny thing about checklists is that they never end. They just keep on going. You can check things off, you can scratch them off your list, but no matter what, that list just continues to grow. Think about it. How many times have you experienced a day where, despite doing so much, despite getting so much done off your list, it just never gets finished? Or as you get close to the end, something else gets piled on top. An emergency happens. Someone needs help. You forgot something that you now got to do, or something urgent, takes priority, whether that's from work, whether that's from your family, maybe even trying to carve in some time for yourself. That becomes a priority. That all of a sudden goes to the checklist. But you just can't seem to knock it out. And as a result, you build up this tension inside you. You develop this belief that unless I cross off everything from this checklist, I can't truly relax. I can't truly be happy. I can't truly be at peace. And the sad part is so many of us struggle with this disorder, with this problem, with this condition, right? We've been trained to just do, that we've given the checklist such a big role in our lives, so much so that we've forgotten how to be balanced. We've forgotten how to take care of ourselves. We've forgotten to prioritize on what truly matters in life. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the checklist, the to-do list, whatever you want to call it. I want to talk about why it's there, some of the reasons why it's important and useful to have structure in your life, but ultimately why we need to de-emphasize the role of the checklist in our life and what we can do to work, but to work consciously, to be more present, to not treat happiness as some sort of a goal, but rather a state of being that is always there. So make sure you stick around to the end of this video. We're going to be covering a lot of great stuff, a lot of great topics, many of which I believe will be useful and that you can start applying today in your daily life. But first, let's talk a little bit more about the checklist. Checklists are a great way, as I mentioned, to stay organized. For me, I have a lot of things going on, as I'm sure you guys do as well. And having some sort of a system, whether that's writing it down on a piece of paper, having it in your iPhone, having some other sort of process or structure is really good because it helps you see, here are the things that I need to accomplish. And a certain amount of that is healthy, right? You don't want to wake up not knowing what to do, right? There's a balance here. You don't want to be so far into the checklist world that you're burning out and that you don't really experience any sort of peace or happiness. But you also don't want to just kind of go with the flow every second and not have any sort of plan or direction in life either. So it's about finding the right balance. But a lot of the times, many of us err on one side versus the other. It's more common, especially if you're watching this video, it's more common that you are a doer and that you've been programming your mind to do than you are a beer, than you are someone that can let things go, to do the checklist, but to do it with a sense of ease and calm and a sense of motion, right? So why do we get to that state in the first place? It's because of a deep underlying belief that I need to do X, Y, Z in order to achieve this, right? This is something that has been exacerbated by so much of the world around us, right? We've been trained to work hard, to grind, to put in the hours, to do it, that we all of a sudden think that everything meaningful in life has to be done through sacrifice, has to be done through doing. And so we have this underlying belief that, okay, if I accomplish these things, then I'll achieve something. That will be my prize towards the end, right? But a lot of the times, what this fails to capture is that you can have those same things now without even trying to go through the checklist, right? The checklist is sort of one means to achieve some satisfaction. And I use the word satisfaction, right? I'm careful not to use the word peace. I'm careful not to use the word happiness, because a lot of the times checking off everything from our checklist doesn't make our soul happy. It makes our ego happy. It makes our mind at ease until, of course, something else comes up, right? And that's really the crux of what I want to focus on, is that checklists never end. If you are going in with the mindset that, oh, I'll just relax once I finish this. Oh, okay, I'll spend time on myself once I've tackled all these projects. Oh, I'm busy right now, but next month maybe I might do a little bit more meditation, or I might spend some time with my family, or I might, pretty soon you start to push things out. And your sense of happiness becomes tied to this idea of a future that may never come. Because the future is something that is created by our mind. It's not an actual state. We do not live in the past or the present, or the past or the future. We only live in the present. Think about it. Yesterday was not yesterday when you were there. Yesterday was the present. And same thing, tomorrow will not be tomorrow when you get there. It will still be the present. So the present is the only moment that we can ever truly live in. And that's why you hear so many spiritual teachers and authors and guides talk about being here now. But when you're living in a world full of checklists, full of things to do, full of objectives that are fully in the future, right? They're not in the present. That's the whole concept of a checklist, right? Your present state in a checklist is, I don't have these tasks finished. And your future state is, I will have these tasks finished. So the very nature of creating a checklist means that you are working toward a future. And a lot of us don't realize it until it's too late, until we get sucked into this hamster wheel of doing, that we never actually stop to wonder, why are we doing all this? What good is it ultimately bringing to our life? So now that we've sort of dissected and unraveled how we get to this checklist mentality, let's now talk about ways where we can break that cycle, where we can change some habits, where we can be a little bit less dependent on the checklist itself, and rather use the checklist as a reference point, but not the end-all be-all. Because ultimately, that's what it should be about. The checklist is a reference. It's a piece of paper, or it's an app, or it's a note that you can have to make sure that you're within a reasonable area of accomplishing what you need to do, but you don't need to follow everything exactly to the T, right? If something doesn't get finished today, yes, there may be deadlines in life. I understand it. We all have stressful lives to some degree, so some things, they simply cannot wait till the next day, and I totally get that. But a lot of the times, many things can wait till the next day, or the next week, or the next year even, right? Everything has its own time. Everything has a season, right? You can't go see the flowers blooming in winter, right? It's not the season. You can't buy certain fruits or vegetables when it's not the season, right? And life is the same way. The activities that we do, the things that we accomplish, the places that we go, the things that we learn, all of these will happen in due time. And so one of the things that we need to be mindful of, and this is the first thing that I want to talk about, is trusting the process. You have a checklist, you have a mind that's focused on achieving it, that's great. But now trust your soul, trust God, trust the universe. Because that higher power is aware of not just the things on your checklist, but everything in your life. And if it helped you get to this point, believe me, it will help you get even further than that. So don't lose sight of the ultimate reason of why you're here. Don't lose sight of who you are at your very core. You are not someone that came just to check things off a list. You have a much greater purpose. And we may not see that purpose, or at least to a full degree. We may see snippets of it. But that's why it's so important to trust, to have your faith, to work in concert with God, right? It's not that you're relinquishing your mind, but rather you realize that your mind is not the solution to everything, and that there are some things that can't be said, that can't be understood, that can't be learned. And at that point, you just have to put your arms up and trust the Almighty. Trust God. And this is why, even though this is a topic that is probably more related to productivity, but as you all know, this is a spirituality channel. And so I always try to connect spirituality into daily life. So that's the first key, right? The first key is putting your trust. The second key is, how can you be more present in the activities that you're doing? So there's nothing that says that you can't be present while doing. People sometimes think that they're mutually exclusive, that you can't be at peace when you're at work, or you can't be at peace when you're doing chores, or getting groceries, or doing other activities that may show up on your list. But nothing could be further from the truth. And this brings us to our second topic of being present while doing, right? And this is a habit, just like anything else. It's something that you have to practice. And, there's a whole term and a whole field of research around it. But in essence, it's mindfulness. It's being aware of what is happening. Not just doing things unconsciously for the sake of getting to the next place, for the sake of checking it off, but doing it consciously. Even if you don't enjoy it, right? There may be certain tasks where it does not give you any sort of intrinsic pleasure or happiness, but see if you can just give it honor, give it a sense of respect. Recognize that there is a duty to be done and fulfill that duty, right? If you have to go mow the lawn, and I know a lot of us probably don't like mowing our lawns, but it can be a very boring and monotonous task, especially when it's in the summer and it gets a little bit warmer. But try to look at it a little bit differently. Don't view it as, oh, it's just another task I have to do. Think of it as, I'm taking care of the earth. I'm taking care of my grass and my lawn, and making sure that it's healthy, and making sure that it's trimmed to a reasonable level. And I am the one that is enabling this. No one else is. So when you shift your perspective, you can start to slow down a little bit. You can start to appreciate the task for what it truly is and what it can be, rather than just some other task that you're trying to get rid of and trying to put behind you. If you start doing this for every single task, all of a sudden your checklist doesn't become a chore. It becomes a sense of pleasure. It becomes a sense of grounding. It's like a grounding exercise. You don't need to just go out and meditate 10 hours a day or read books. Your spiritual teachers can be the chores themselves, can be the tasks, if you're able to shift your perspective. So we've covered some good ground here with trusting the higher power, trusting God, and treating each activity as a teacher, being while doing. But the final piece is really the third thing that I wanted to talk about, is that checklists never end. And while it's good, as I mentioned, to have structure, to have a sense of, what do I need to do today? At the end of the day, it's not so much about doing, right? Sometimes it's good to go in life with a blank slate. I talked earlier how it's not good to have no direction, and that's true. I stand by those words. But that doesn't mean one day you can't wake up with nothing on your schedule. That doesn't mean that you can't have a little bit of serendipity, a little bit of adventure, because sometimes we need that in life, right? If you wake up every day saying, this is what I need to do, and I'm not going to stop until I'm done, then your life becomes boring. Your life becomes monotonous. It becomes, unfortunately, empty, devoid of any meaning. You're not meant to just labor and toil and labor and toil. There's something more beautiful than that. But it requires us to be flexible, to kind of break our patterns sometimes. And I think that's why a lot of us, unconsciously, we don't realize it, but we take vacations. We go on a getaway because we want to break the cycle. Many of us might not realize that's what we're doing, but that's exactly what we're doing. And a lot of the times, breaking that cycle gives us a new perspective, gives us a new insight, helps us see things in a totally different way. And in many cases, it might even change our life completely. It might make us re-examine what our priorities in life truly are. So don't be afraid to give yourself a vacation. Go on a getaway. Not simply for the purpose of relaxing and then getting back to the grind, but to just go with the flow for a change. Not trying to be in control of everything. Because candidly, we can't be in control of everything. We're not even in control of our own life. When you're driving, you think you're in control. You're in the driver's seat. You're, driving down the street, driving down the highway. But guess what? You're not controlling any of the other drivers around you. So you could be the best driver in the world, but if someone else makes a mistake, you can be in an accident. So remember that. Remember that as much as we try to be in control, at the end of the day, we simply aren't. And that's okay. We can have a certain sense of control, but we shouldn't grasp or clutch or struggle for that sense of control. Rather, we should be flexible and move with the wind. Move, go with the flow, be like the river rather than the rock in the river. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this sheds some light into some of the destructive habits of being tied down to a checklist, but on a positive note, how we can change that. And specifically, how we can put our faith in a higher power, how we can be more while doing, and how we can ultimately be serendipitous and go with the flow. These are the three key things that I think will help us unlock our true potential, our true sense of happiness. One that's not tied to, did I complete this today? But one that is an innate part of who we really are in life. So I thank you guys for sticking around and watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I always love hearing what you guys have to say. And if you have any questions or you want to kind of explore this topic further, give me a shout. Reach out to me. You can check out my website, www.nikjimasterman.com. As I've shared in other videos, I am offering spiritual counseling sessions now. So if you are interested in exploring and working on this topic further or any other topic, spiritual topic further, give me a shout. Let's connect. Let's see if there's something that we can work on together to help you grow spiritually, to help you achieve the goals that you want in life. But for now, I appreciate you guys for taking the time. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Share it with any loved ones that you think might be in need of it. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more content like this every single week. So thank you guys again. I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember, the checklist is not everything.